Coming up on the Raptor Report, we'll be talking with the head coach of the record-setting 2018 MC Volleyball team, Tori Kenno. Hi, everybody. I'm Michael Brown, and this is the Raptor Report. And on today's show, it is my pleasure to welcome in the head coach of MC Volleyball, Tori Kenno. Tori, thanks for joining us.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Well, Tori, this is your first time on the show, so let's help everybody get to know you a little bit better. You're a local product, correct?
Yeah. I went to Magruder High School. I played volleyball and softball. And then I came here, played volleyball for 2 years, played softball for 2 years. Then I transferred to the University of Maryland and got my bachelor's in kinesiology and my master's in physical education.
And you are currently a school, your full-time job is a school teacher here in Montgomery County, correct?
Yep, I teach PE at Kennedy High School.
And how's that going?
It's going really well, and I actually just started being the assistant coach for cheerleading this winter, so we'll see how that goes.
Oh, that's a new venture for you.
Yes.
Are you gonna, there's no way you can coach there like softball or...
I am coaching softball too.
Oh, you're coaching softball too?
I am now the varsity softball coach at Kennedy too.
Wow, wow, good for you. So you have a busy schedule.
Yes.
And then of course, as a pretty young person, you landed the head job here at Montgomery College in 2016. Tell us how that all came about.
Derek Carter had emailed me and asked if I'd be interested in the job and asked me to meet him at Panera in Crofton, where I was doing my student teaching at the time. And I was like, yeah, sure, like I'll interview. Like I had no hopes of getting it. I didn't think I had a shot. And while we were talking, he was like, yeah, it's your job if you want it. And I was like, I'm 24 years old. Are you serious? And he's like, yeah, I'm serious. So that's how I wound up here.
Now, so your first 2 years here, I think you would agree with me, probably a bit of a learning experience, getting up to speed at coaching at this level. But my way of thinking, it's kind of all a lead into this year, which of course was a record-setting year, a historic year for MC women's volleyball. But this year's success really begins at the end of last year, correct?
Yes. So I said in previous interviews that last year was bad, but it wasn't bad in the sense that like the players were bad or the season was bad. It was more like the ending was bad, and I wasn't happy with how it ended because it ended the same both my first year and second year. We lost in the first round of the playoffs when we were done. And last year I was like, oh, we're a lot better than the first year, and we were better, but not to the extent that we were good this year. So when I said the ending was bad, it was just like, okay, now I got to figure out how do I fix it and make it better. So when I started recruiting, I knew like the players I had last year and their level, and I had to take a step up and get players that were better.
So how did you do that? What kind of work goes into putting together a roster like this?
Well, I think my first mindset was most people don't want to go to MC. And I had the same mindset when I came. I was like, I don't want to go to MC. Why do I want to go to MC and play? I can go to a 4-year school and play. But coming here and playing was the best thing I ever did. I really enjoyed it, had a good experience. So when I'm recruiting, I kind of talk about my experience and how I went to MC for 2 years. I went and got my bachelor's. I already have my master's, and I had my master's at 24. And I'm like, just because you go to MC doesn't mean you're dumb or that you're not going to go to a 4-year school. Like at the end of the day, your 4-year degree says Maryland or whatever. Like I don't even have to tell anyone I went to MC if I didn't want to. So I kind of talk about that a little bit and saying like I'm just as smart. Like I have a master's degree, I went to MC, and then I think that kind of helps kids understand that MC is not really a step down. It's just a good way to save money.
And it's a great way to start.
Yeah.
Great way to start your 4-year career. So you went out and you really pounded the pavement, so to speak, when it comes to recruiting. You bring in a very talented team. And I remember talking to you in preseason practice in August, and you were super optimistic. But did you really think you had, were you just excited, or were you genuinely convinced that this was could be a special group?
I was convinced it could be a special group. I know I've said it a bunch of times. I joked with them that they were allowed to lose one game, which they did, except it was at a bad time.
Yeah.
But just from the players I got, the schools they went to, the programs they came from, like I knew what those high schools' expectations were, and I have similar expectations for them. Like when I played at Magruder, we were 24-1 and lost in the state finals. So like I came from that program, and that's the type of program I want to have here. So like pulling from Northwest, who won 4 state championships back to back, pulling from Damascus that has good teams year after year. We got some from Eleanor Roosevelt, and they're consistently going to states, and just finding schools that have good programs and pulling from there rather than the schools that programs aren't as good.
I see. So you went to the cream of the crop to go after the better players, and obviously it worked out. I mean, worked out is an understatement. You started, I knew there was something up right at the beginning of the season when you guys won the Howard Invitational. And in my memory, I'm not sure MC ever won.
We did.
You guys did when you played here.
Yeah.
Okay, and that was a special team. You guys went on to nationals that year, correct? Was that your nationals year?
I don't remember. It was my freshman year or my sophomore year.
Okay.
But we had pretty good teams both years.
Yeah,
so.
you did. You did, under former coach Amir Mafinajad, who is very excited about how you guys did this year. He and I have been in contact.
I was texting him the whole way. I was like, I'm going to beat your record. I was so excited. So.
All right, well, we're going to talk more about this season and some other things, but we need to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more from Tori Kenno on the Raptor Report.
We don't all start in the same place, but we all deserve the same chance. Montgomery College graduates rise up and say, I am MC. If you came to MC to find a new career path, were born in another country, or if you have children, education empowers you to make an impact on your life, your family, your community, and the world.
And welcome back, and we're continuing our conversation with Tori Kenno, head coach of the MC volleyball team. Tori, you guys, again, you were 26-0 during the regular season. You won Maryland JUCO. It was obviously a very special group of players. What made them so special?
I think just their outlook and their perspective of volleyball. They took every practice pretty seriously. Their passion for the game was really strong. They did well in the classroom. They just had a different work ethic than I'm used to. And every practice it showed in the classroom, like their grade reports and everything, it showed. And they just had a really great work ethic. And no matter what they did, they always wanted to get better. So I think that just kind of drove the team.
Yeah, you told me at one point during the season, she said, the starters I put out there, they have a different mindset. That they are just serious about it and passionate about it. You could see that passion out on the court, I think led by Skylar, who I've always referred to as the emotional leader of this year's team. I think that's pretty accurate, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. She has the energy of the whole team. So when she's up, the whole team's up. If she's not up, you can tell the difference in how they play. And I think with this team, they also didn't play to their competition. They played to their expectations all the time. And I think that's one of the things that got us last year. If we were playing a team that wasn't as good as us, we would drop down instead of just playing our game.
You dominated the Maryland JUCO stat sheets. That's the first time I've ever seen that. You led in so many different categories. Did that surprise you?
Yes, just the fact that every category, it seemed like there was someone there. I knew they had the potential to do it, but I also thought the other schools would be giving us a run for their money, but I guess they didn't like the competition and they just kind of wanted to be the best, so.
Now, you entered the postseason as obviously the #1 seed in the NJCAA D2 Region 20 tournament. By the way, first year for the program playing at the D2 level versus the D1 level, which added to the degree of difficulty, I think, for the season, certainly for the postseason. You had to be happy with the way the first 2 rounds went.
Yeah. Friday night, we played Garrett, and we played pretty much flawless. I think that was probably one of the best games they've played. I felt like they were getting every ball. They were hitting really well. They were blocking. Then we played Hagerstown. They played not as good, but they still played well enough to win. But I think the difference between Friday night and Saturday, there was definitely a big difference, and that showed in the finals.
Yeah, I think we should explain that you guys had to drive home on that Friday night and then come back down to Southern Maryland for Saturday, and you ran into some pretty tough weather.
Yeah, driving home Friday night was bad. It rained pretty hard. I remember driving down 495 and going like 25 miles an hour. And I was like, we're never going to get home. But we made it.
Yeah. So I mean, we do need to talk about the Nova game. Of course, that was the regional final. Man, that had to be tough. It had to be tough after the dream season that you had for it to just done. I mean, how did you guys handle it? How did you as coaches handle it? How did the players handle it?
I think everyone took it really hard. I don't think any of us were expecting to lose. I said all along Nova was probably going to be our hardest competition. They're the only team that took us to 5 sets all season. So I knew they were going to be the team that we had to beat. We sat and watched them Friday night. We went and got dinner and came back and watched them play Frederick, I think. And I told them, I was like, you guys got to come out and play just like you did against Garrett tonight. And Saturday morning we had some issues. Skylar got sick. I think the team just wasn't themselves. They just didn't seem to have that fire that they had all season. And that could have been because Skylar was sick and not feeling well, and her ball of energy self wasn't as energetic as she usually is.
Well, yeah, like you said earlier, the team feeds off her energy, and if her energy level, she was sick. I mean, she slept in the car in between matches. She was asleep in the car until right before the Hagerstown match started in the semis. So that had to have some impact on the team. Not taking anything away from Nova. They played exceptionally well. But yeah, maybe a little bit less energy. Yeah. But you guys had, again, a historic season. You're without a doubt the best volleyball team this college has ever seen. Frankly, I think you're one of the best teams that I've covered in any sport since I've been here, and I've been covering MC sports for over 15 years. So a lot to be proud of, and a lot of postseason honors. Anya, Isabel, Skylar Thiessen, all making first team All-Maryland JUCO. Kishana Phoenix making second team. You loaded up on All-Region 20 and All-Region 20 tournaments, so a lot to be proud of.
For sure. And they deserve it. They worked so hard, and everyone's like, what did you do to cook? It was all them. They just came in, they worked hard. I mean, I ran the drills, but if they put in all the work, so they deserve all the credit.
All right, we're almost out of time, but I don't want to let you go before I ask you about next year. I assume you're already recruiting, and because obviously if we're a 2-year school, you're going to lose some players. So how's that going so far?
It's going really well. I'm talking to quite a few girls. They're not completely sold yet, but I think as the winter comes and spring starts to happen, they're going to have a better idea of what they want to do, and I'll just keep selling it to them. And definitely winning Maryland JUCO and being 28-1, that's an easy program to sell, much easier than 7-14. So
that is for sure. Congratulations on a terrific season. It was so much fun following you guys this year and covering you.
Thank you.
And thanks to all of you for joining us on the Raptor Report. We'll be back soon with an all-new show.